What's up everybody, welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great and welcome to this middle of the day market update. The second recording, I just uploaded my middle of the day market update. But some people in the Telegram pointed out to me that it was stuck on the S&P 500 screen, and unfortunately that was true. I just uploaded a video on my second channel as well. If you're interested in that, check out Market Insights with Cilinix. That's the name of it, so it's very similar but a little bit different. Just uploaded a very interesting video there, but there I was looking at the S&P 500, right? So that's why it was still there, and I forgot to change it. But we're going to do a full update here. I'll tell you everything I told you in the other video as well. Let's get right into it. So first of all, fundamentals. Fundamentals are quite good. As you can see right here, the S&P 500 opened a little bit higher. At this point in time, even though we did spike up higher initially and pulled back, we are still trading at those levels, right? So right here, or at least we are still trading a little bit higher. And then if you take a look at gold, gold is trading lower. That's good news. The volatility index, aka unrest, is trading lower as well. And then if we take a look at crypto specifically, you can see that we have a pretty major Coinbase Bitcoin premium, which is good news. And that's also visible in the order flow, which we'll look at, because ultimately when we're talking about the markets here, the markets are doing pretty good, right? We've had basically the best recovery we could have hoped for with Bitcoin. Now altcoins are still left back a little bit. I mean, if you take a look at the Bitcoin dominance, you can see that it's rallied up quite a bit over the last 3 days. And we'll talk about that in a moment as well. Because I want to talk about the others chart, right? So that's the main chart we normally take a look at when we're talking about altcoins. But first of all, Bitcoin extremely strong. All right, this morning we spoke mostly about this level at 103,500. That we needed to reclaim that if we actually wanted to confirm the bottom. Ultimately, I told you yesterday in my emergency update already that I thought it was most likely that we had hit the bottom. Which turned out to be true. In the Signal group, we also bought Bitcoin right here from 101,000 all the way down to 98,000. A very small portion of the order got filled, but still decent profit, right? I mean, at this point of time, it's up about 4.5%, which for Bitcoin, I'd argue is pretty good. But we broke above 103.5 with volume, so I think this is the local bottom. I don't expect these levels unless we get some super bearish news. But I don't expect these levels to be touched soon again. Now, on the higher time frames, do I think that we're going to continue the uptrend after hitting the daily trend right here? No, I think that's a little bit too much to ask, but ultimately stability is what I do expect on the higher time frames. Stability, I think for now, between 108,000 to the upside and then 102,000 to the downside. Short term, we actually still look pretty good to go up higher, even though I do think, if you take a look at this move up right here, I think ultimately it's a good move, and we'll look at the order flow in a moment to support that claim. I do think that some of the imbalances left down here will be filled, right? So when we're talking about the short term for Bitcoin, long term, or at least on the higher time frames, I expect stability. Short term, I do think from this level around 106 and 105, we can still have a pullback, quite a sharp pullback, to fill some of those imbalances before bouncing and getting into stability. And from stability, we can also rally up a little bit higher. So that is ultimately what I'd expect for Bitcoin. But if you take a look at the nature of this move, what you can see is that it seems like a lot of it was with spot. Or a lot of it was fueled by spot buys, which is obviously great. We've had some leverage as well, but if you take a look at the open interest right here, it's pretty high, but it's both longs and shorts, and the majority of the move earlier was actually while the open interest was falling down, right? So then you also have relatively high volume across the markets right here with $62 billion of volume for Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. So that means that, I think this is, like I said earlier, this is the best price action we could have hoped for. And even though a pullback is something you should be prepared for, I think stability is pretty much guaranteed here. Although, like I said, you should always be ready for news. Now, when we're talking about altcoins in general, though, I think majors look pretty good, and we'll talk about that in a moment with XRP and Ethereum. If we're taking a look at others right here, so general altcoins, I think this could look better. right? Others basically need to reclaim $250 billion in order for me to say, all right, it looks good to buy altcoins again. I do think there's pockets of altcoins that actually do look good. But I think with altcoins in general, you should be careful. And it's better to await some more confirmation right here than to buy prematurely. So I'm very optimistic about Bitcoin. I'm relatively optimistic as well about XRP and Ethereum. About altcoins in general, a little bit less so. But all right, XRP, I still expect what I expect this morning. A bounce, but I expect stability coming very, very soon. And then eventually a move into 2.27, which we'll try to break. But we'll talk about that when we actually are trying to break that. Ethereum, good bounce here from the bottom of the range. POC right here at 2550. I expect there to find some resistance, but ultimately after that resistance, I expect a continuation into 2600 and 2630. And then when we're talking about some altcoins specifically, there's not many altcoins outside of some scammy and manipulated altcoins that I think are interesting. Polygon is doing quite well, right? So Pol has relatively high volume, so then it's always interesting to keep an eye on that. And I saw that Virtual was trying to reclaim support. At this point of time, it hasn't done that. But if Virtual is able to reclaim 1.85 with good volume, which it has had for the last couple of hours, that looks interesting as well. But that's what I think you need to know. That's the re-record of this market update. So thank you for watching. I'll see you on my next videos. Have a great weekend and bye.